Hi, welcome everyone. DeAnna Batdorf here, and I have my lovely companion in business, Andrea Foster. And we are here to navigate your questions. This is Ask Me Anything with DeAnna Batdorf. And we already have a question, and it's a good question because it's going to lead into my conversation with you today and what I want to share. And I really go impromptu with this. I don't really have an agenda with this specific time in my life. I just know I'm going to show up, I'm going to answer questions, and some topic's going to come to me. And so my topic did, and the question that Andrea brought forward was perfect for a lead-in to this conversation, and then we can do all kinds of Q&A for the rest of our time. Mm-hmm. So, Andrea, what do you got?
Well, Martha Morell posed this question last week. She wanted to know more about how to nurture digestion back to health, in particular daily practices to incorporate.
Okay. So, how do we nourish the gut? And this is a great question. I love the way the question was asked because it tells me that you already have an understanding that your digestion is the seat of health. We have our primary, what I think of as kind of our real energetic seat of health, which is our emotional self. And then we eat our emotions. And those emotions, whatever we put in as the emotion that would ended up in our hand and in our mind and in our heart and said, ooh, let's go get that. And it could even be a salad. This doesn't have to always be a negative. But whatever we take in is exactly what we are watering as a concept of nourishing. Like that's what's getting watered and what can grow. So you can grow processed food, you can grow sugar spores, you can, grow bacteria, and you can also grow really nourishing biotic force, immunity. And that's where we go into microbiome. Really, that's what we're calling it now because we're starting to get so engaged with our flora, which is what it's been called on the market. Right. It was a good way. It's kind of like omega oils. Who wants to take an essential fatty acid? But omega, I want an omega. Right. And so probiotics and prebiotics became imperative to our health. We started looking at them in the fermentations and the aging processes and the cultures of dairy and coconut and different things like kefir, and how much immunity spores live in those alive foods. And most raw foods, so when you're juicing, like juicing a cucumber, you are getting a lot of probiotics. Pro being like, I'm going to help you right now. Prebiotics you want to think of as leaders, and they're really the leadership. And that was kind of where I'm going to take this conversation today. So I could go back to the trine of hydration and like blah, blah, blah. How many people have heard that from me? And if you haven't heard that, Martha, I have a trine of hydration ebook that's super simple, $5.99, and it'll give you the 3 most important things you can do for hydration, and they all go via the gut, which means they are the foundation. Electrolytes, which ones why, essential fatty acids, those omega oils, why, and probiotics. And so just putting forward, those are the 3 juicy, wet, water on the seeds. Like whatever you seeded, whatever you put in is what you are growing. And so you want healthy bacteria around, and it lives in wet environments. So the other thing you have to think of here is it's not just about building a colony and having good immunity. They have to live somewhere. They have to have houses. They got to have somewhere to sleep at night, and to kind of regenerate, just like the rest of us, the rest of our human self. So it's called mucin lining, and that's a whole nother one of those things where it's like, that's not very exciting. That's from mucus. But we have literally a mucus lining that lines all the way through from our salivary glands and our enzymes all the way down our esophagus, stomach, small intestine, colon, and it allows, and you need it all the way through, which makes smooth move. And then you wouldn't have evacuation issues or like a backup of bacteria or toxins that are sitting around that could, back up into the small intestine, into the stomach. So you have to think about, like, is everything moving down and out and moving through enough? You're going to stay more hydrated. Your bacteria is going to be healthier because you don't have toxins sitting around. And that's kind of what we talked about the last two Q&As. I really went into fall and intestinal cleansing. But it really starts from here. So you got to love your food, and you have to take it in with love. You have to think about your conversations when you're eating your food. Maybe go into what's called Mona. In the ashram, there's no speaking during meals, which really was challenging for me. And I was, the only American there, and I was definitely like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I got kicked out of the library, too. And I got the whole library to study.
Oh.
And I got kicked out because I was too loud. Oh, my gosh. Those were the days. 24-year-old me. But, that whole idea that you have to take in the nourishment. So the silence, Mona is silence during meals. How quiet can you get? Can you put your phone away? Can you love yourself? Because we already have so much shame built into our food and our lifestyle and our doings all day long. Literally, if you think about it, we could shame ourselves all day long and it gets so normal. We don't even realize how much that's affecting the nourishment of what we're taking in.
Right.
Have you ever eaten a meal after somebody was like really arguing, or I had a really hard day, and yes, I'm having you over for dinner now, and then you're just like, ugh, doesn't taste as good.
Yeah. Or you can't even remember you ate.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like, ugh, takes the flavor and everything out. And then you go to somebody's house and they're like, oh, I had the most amazing day. I cooked for you all day. I just enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, do you remember every taste in that meal? Every little morsel of love? I'm telling you, there is something very special about food and the gut and how we take it in. It's not just what did you eat. I think that the more you have a health issue, the more you have to be all, whoa, 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 what do I need to curb? Where's my cravings? Curb the patterns, The more you can curb the patterns and keep in mind, the more you know what a pattern is, the more you can find something you're gonna do that's the opposite of the pattern, and you try to do it as many times as you do the craving until it overrides it. So you have to actually be like, I'm gonna repeat positive. I'm gonna repeat positive because these negatives are already here. And it's amazing how much those can shift things. And I really am talking about the nourishment of the gut, because brain, gut are so deeply connected, and your mouth is in between. And dental care. So you really want to think about nourishment of your gut. You want to think about dental care. If you have a cavity that you're not taking care of, you have a little slow drip, a little drip of bacteria, actually infection. So, like a little infection drip. Now think about how that is going to change your healthy bacteria.
Right.
Your healthy bacteria is going to fight it and fight it and fight it until there's nobody left. There's no bacteria left, So if I'm going to give you a straight remedy, a couple just straight remedies for nourishing, okay? Yes, the omegas and the electrolytes and the probiotics, and we'll go further into microbiome in a moment. But slippery elm, or actually, let's say marshmallow tea. But I do think of those little slippery elm lozenges, because that literally just is giving you a little coating of that mucin lining, and it doesn't make mucus. It's just this nourishing, unctuous, milky substance that helps you absorb everything and kind of make everything all cushioned in there. Like if a compost pile, because your gut's a compost pile, if the compost pile doesn't have any fluid, if you don't add water or have enough water in your compost, it is going to burn so hot and dry, and then you're going to have to put the hose on it or get some water in there.
Right.
So it's one of the balancing acts of the gut is really making sure you've got that. So you can coat it. Chia seeds do this too, especially chia pudding. Because think about chia water, it's going to go through the whole system. Great. But if you really want to nourish the primary and calm your stomach down, because that's how you change habits too. You get your stomach happy. It's amazing how it starts talking different. I'm like, whoa, that food didn't even taste the same. And I thought that was one of my favorite bad foods. And like, didn't even taste good. What's going on? You know what I mean? And when my stomach is nice and juicy, it's content. And it's just like, I'm hungry. And then I can be like, oh yes, let's get some great food. And then, you know, once it starts drying out, well, then it's kind of like, you know, it might be like fire. And I'm all, Indian food, spicy.
Right.
So that's how and that spicy's not bad, but I run hot, so I don't need as much spicy. If somebody runs cold, that spicy is a healthy craving. So that's another thing, figuring out what are your unhealthy cravings, you know, restaurant food, processed food, you know, snackies, like just look at those, but don't go into guilt. Say, what can I do that would taste just as good that's in a whole food form? Whole food is going to nourish you better, hands down, bottom line. Eat at home, less than in a restaurant, and cook with whole ingredients. Make a fresh sauce, you know. Once you kind of learn a couple, it's not that hard to do. Because sauces are juicy, you know. And you can put your chia right in there. Make a little chia dressing with some tahini, and that would just really help. So that's what I think of with this question, and I'm going to take my topic for today, unless there's a burning question there, Andrea, that you think is connected to what I just said.
It kind of moves into gauging how to meet whatever is coming up, and it's interesting talking about the transition between, I may be craving this now, but let me apply the opposite, until which time now I need to transition. Like, it's not a static state. How our doshas arise and
Okay.
come out of balance. That's related to this question, but
Okay. Why don't you ask the question and I'll take it there. That's great.
I won't beat around the bush anymore. And this comes over from Instagram. One of our friends asks, I'm noticing that I am full on pitta, and then the fall chill hits and I'm kapha. Are there any tips for that transition?
Oh, that's a great one. Okay. So yeah, some people are very much related to the hot and cold temperature gauge of their system. Others are not as much. Usually if your blood pressure is really regulated, which is based on water volume in the body. So if your water volume, hydration, and if your blood pressure are really regulated, you're often somebody who doesn't have as much temperature change. But if you're in the summer, and if you're a pitta and you're in the summer and you're just like hot pitta, so it's getting more and more, remember that water only boils so long before it evaporates. And so what happens is the pitta becomes dry. So pitta can burn so high it takes you right back into vata, and it doesn't just do the assimilating, absorbing, like breaking it down, turning it to liquid. Here you go, kapha. It always goes vata feeds pitta, pitta feeds kapha. You know, they work together, these elements. And so your pitta is probably getting way too dry. And so it needs to be regulated more in the moment of that pitta. And we can talk about what to do for that. Like, that's aloe every day. That's chewing on mint leaves. You know, it's alkaline food. It's green vegetable juicing. Those are all the things that are just cooling, and it's breathing, the best antioxidant, anti-inflammatory in the entire world. Is the thing we do the moment we get here, and the last thing we do before we leave. Breathe. And we forget to breathe. We're like, yeah, tell me something I don't know. Well, it's that important that we forget about it. So breath is a big one for pitta, and it also helps them contain themselves. So they can kind of collect themselves, and they can kind of exhale, and they can learn to move energy out, and instead of maybe moving energy out, These are things that are just normal for pitta. But you're drying out. And that's what's really going on. And vata are two primary words, dry and cold. So you might be thinking it's kapha. Now there's another theory we could look at here. I'm not checking your pulse in the moment. But if you're getting too dry, you're leaving yourself empty, your blood pressure drops, and you end up getting vata cold onset. And that makes inertia, and it brings on fear, and it definitely kind of makes you want to like hide from everybody, and you feel like secrets or privacy. They have a lot of guilt. So if this is, what kind of cold you're experiencing, then I would say it was about staying hydrated in that pitta so you transitioned easier and you didn't go into cold weather already dry, and then we get dry and cold. The other theory would be if you're like, no, I have kapha congestion, I'm mucousy, I'm getting sick from the cold of fall. If you're really looking at true kapha, then probably what's happening is you're having either an allergen you need to think of, or there's mucus in your system, and you want to look at your diet, how much mucus was in your diet, or how much processed food. If there wasn't any processed food, then it's really just about dairy and gluten. And sometimes in the summer we get a little, gluttonous. It's like vacay time. So people are a little more loose in the times of vacation, especially when we can't really get them.
Right.
So then they become, how you play.
Yeah.
If you have to stay home, well, you're going to be like, well, how do I play? I'd normally be in Cancun right now.
Right. We could all use some play.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, and we got to find healthy play. We have to find healthy play. And so if there is mucus and congestion, there's either a food relation or there's an immunity allergy relation. And then you would need to get all that mucus out so you can get back to your pitta self. And you need to know that there's maybe too much mucus going in. You got to get the mucus out. And that's when you want to expectorate and cleanse and intestinal cleanse and rosemary and a little bit of sage and some thyme leaves and all the things that really need to be eaten in gardens right now because they won't all last for the winter. And so they're there to open the lungs and move the mucus. Now the reason I explained both, not just to be like thorough, but I explained both because if somebody thought they were kapha, but there wasn't congestion, they were feeling kapha cold, because there's kapha cold and there's vata cold. So if you're going cold with mucus putting the fire out, you need those expectorants. But if you're the first one I talked about, where you're going dry from all that pitta, and then you're getting cold from emptiness and low blood pressure, you would not want to be using expectorants.
Right.
Because those are dry. Those are moving mucus and drying you out. So damp needs the expectorants, and emptiness needs warming, blood building, spices, and hydration. So that's a good way to look at pitta. Remember, pitta lives in the middle of vata, pitta, kapha. Vata is like this light, etherical, gaseous exchange, and then you've got the kapha, the water, the earth, the flow, the structure. Those are complete opposites, like kapha right here, kapha right here. You know what I mean? But vata, look,
Yeah,
I can't even grab it. It's like And so pitta is the ruling factor, and how that fire gets used and how hydrated you stay to keep the fire safe. Think about that. Why do people water around their house when there's fire danger? It's for safety. And so pitta needs to be nourished to be safe, and then it doesn't go back to vata dry or make a bunch of undigested, unabsorbed stuff, and then you get all mucousy cough. So really, it's a great question because it brings us to the fact that vata, pitta, and kapha work together. And that really is probably the most amazing opener for microbiome I could possibly think about.
So thank you, Carmen.
No, seriously, because you know, in Chinese, a lot of people in Chinese medicine know this concept of triple burner. And it's the gut. And we have the stomach, small intestine, colon. 3 organs, the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, from the beginning all the way through the colon. So we know, and I know people just know that languaging, triple burner. You know, it's kind of like calling a gua sha, because so many people know that language, and I like to give China the reverence that it deserves, you know, for the fact that like they have done amazing research, and my teachers who taught me gua sha have done amazing research on that tool from China. But we have this triple burner. In Ayurveda, we call that the tridosha. So I'm just making sure we know that like these are the same exact. And of course, China and India, and by the way, everywhere in the world, not just those 2 cultures, global medicine related, everyone saw, oh my gosh, there's 3 organs involved here, and we have these 3 kind of ways that we end up ticking, and there's these, you know, kind of 4 outlets, which are orifices, and everyone started seeing this relation. So we have Vata, Pitta, Kapha that makes up the tridosha, or the triple burner, and tri being 3, dosha being Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the humors, characteristics. And by the way, Vata, Pitta, Kapha is all about where you're stuck. It's not like pristine health. Pristine health is your ether, air, fire, water, earth are moving according to the seasons. You're not feeling hot, cold. You're kind of being able to flow with whatever comes your way. You know what I mean? And you feel like you have your health stabilized. Then you're elemental. Then you're in the elemental flow of life. Whew! That's so hard to attain. I don't even think it's about attainment. I think it's about a really good, like, this is the highest goal, and I'm going to try to reach it. I'm going to do the best I can to do the best I can. It's a tall order. But we are also born with doshas. We're born with imbalances. It's not like we're just supposed to be like getting enlightened and floating into this perfect place for the next 20 years. I've never seen it yet. Not even my teachers, and I find them quite brilliant and spiritual, you know, but everyone goes ups and downs, the balancing act. So Vata, Pitta, Kapha is about tracking imbalances. It's literally about tracking imbalances and being like, okay, this is about my ether, my air, and my gaseous exchange. Or this is about my pitta, assimilation, absorption. Or this is about kapha, waterworks, lubrication, nourishment. Okay? And that's really the beautiful thing about them. So then you end up saying, okay, well, you know, they call it energy, waste, and fluids. It's kind of an easy way to think about it. Vata is energy, and that's the like, what are you thinking when the food goes in? That's energy, ether, air. And then it's about how did you chew it in your mouth with your saliva, kapha, liquid, and your enzymes, pitta, converting and breaking down proteins and carbs right in your mouth. So it's got to stay in your mouth long enough to really work that enzymatic amylase, and it starts converting your proteins and carbs for you. If you're missing that amylase, that could be a reason not to be able to break down carbs right there. So then it goes down. It has to be easy on the, you know, encoded and smooth on the esophagus to innately just, boom, land in the stomach. And in that stomach space is where we have, not only is it the one of 3 organs, it's a pitta organ, assimilation, absorption. It's going to turn your food to liquid, macronutrients to micronutrients. It's going to turn that food to liquid. But it has a vata, pitta, and kapha chemistry that have to work together in your stomach to make this happen. So it's not only the triple burner of your whole GI, there's 3 primary functions in your stomach. One is the mucin lining, where your probiotics live. It is your microbiome, but it's not the bacteria. You have to grow the bacteria in that mucin lining, kapha. Then you have hydrochloric acid. It's the like, hey, we got some food here, we got to break it down. How are we going to get this to a liquid? Fire, pitta, hydrochloric acid. And then you have the cooling agent, the alkaline agent of pepsin. And that is the vata, cooling agent that sometimes we need if the food goes in too hot, or if it burns too hot, or if we eat it with anger, it's going to be too hot. So we have pepsin, hydrochloric acid, and mucin, and they're the three primary. There's more functions there, but those are the three primary kind of the chemicals that really support you from the enzymes, and there's enzymes there too. And in that flora, in that mucin lining, and in the salivary glands is all your pro and pre and probiotics. All the healthy bacteria that you need to combat unhealthy bacteria like yeast or a fungus, or truth be told, a worm or an amoeba or a parasite. All those things we talked about on the tongue last Q&A, which was really a stretch for me. I was like, I can't believe I'm telling them this specific information. But I really should start doing tongue consults. I think I could do those pretty cheap too, where you could like just send me a picture of your tongue. I've been like, oh, that's something people could afford, and I could tell a lot from a tongue. And it'd be interesting to see a tongue and not see a face.
Or just a little video, so that you could get any photo or
and I could
else.
check the face too. So let Andrea know if you're interested in that, and we'll see if it's worth making it happen. But like little tongue and face readings, I could help a lot quickly. So where was I? Oh my gosh, I got on a tangent, but that was a fun tangent. Yes, I know. So you must have the healthy bacteria in your gut to break down any negative foreign invader that is coming through in your food. Pollution, I just want to remind you, foreign invader is like, laboratory made chemicals are a foreign invader. Heavy metals are a foreign invader, And then you got your worms, amoebas, parasites, and fungal, and mold. So we need this healthy bacteria. So let's talk about a couple things that I think are so important with microbiome, because there's so many pills, and I'm going to be honest, all of them work. But how do you target? How do you target which one you need, or what's a really good way to like build a colony? Because this bacteria, your healthy bacteria, is a community. It's like a really good, well working community. And you need leadership, like there has to be people with voices and opinions and goals, in that community. And I'm going to tell you kind of two that are primary leaders, and they're kind of really more, the pre, like you don't build a community without like a couple settlers. So we don't have to call them leaders if you think of that as a negative word. We could talk about them being the settlers. And they're the ones who like, have the land, and they're like, come one, come all, let's do this together.
Right.
And you build a village, right? So they're early settlers, and these are two that you're going to know the name of: Acidophilus and Bifidus. And these are really important ones, and really I just target Acidophilus all the time, and there's a reason why we can buy it in the store. First off, I've been going to health food stores since I was 16. I used to get on the train all the way to San Francisco from San Jose without my parents knowing. I would take the train, I'd get in a taxi, and I would go to Rainbow Grocer because I wanted to get to a health food store. And I wanted to like look at all the medicine and the jars and all the names. I was like, Grindalia, Ellen Campaign, Mugwort. I was like, oh my gosh, and it was just really phenomenal for me. And Acidophilus was there. Even in the early days, we have had this around. It's always in your yogurt culture, So it's the one that everyone's known the longest. And it's the one you can get in a really pure liquid, or you can get it in a nice refined powder. And I just want to remind you that you can take this and add it. I like to inoculate. I like to inoculate my food. So I have a kraut, and then I put in a probiotic powder, or the Acidophilus powder if you want to start a colony. And I'll just put it right in the kraut. I'll let it sit for a week. And I usually add Tulsi leaves to it, or I'll chop in a whole bunch of basil, or I'll chop in a whole bunch of cilantro. Basil warms me up. Cilantro is cleansing. Tulsi is blood building. But it's like I add stuff to my kraut. So I pre-buy it. You know, I've never been a kraut maker, but I love everyone giving me kraut. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm supplied. But I add stuff to it. I buy it plain, and I just like, what is my medicine for the week? And I throw my probiotics in there, or my acidophilus liquid. And, you know, it really just makes this superfood. Like you have a probiotic community in that kraut, and then you add in kind of a little bit of a settler, you know, who's like, I got some land, y'all love each other, let's do this. And it just inoculates that kraut. And you can also put it in apple cider vinegar. You can also put it in yogurt. So you could do acidophilus in your yogurt with cinnamon and cardamom and nutmeg. And if you haven't made like a chai yogurt, I'm like, there's two things on the market missing. Chai yogurt, and you're not gonna believe my other one, but I'm just like, why doesn't anybody make a root beer ice cream? I'm sorry, but root beer float, root beer ice cream.
That's brilliant.
Root beer ice cream tastes so good. So good. And you can make, you know, you can get a little root beer syrup concentrate. And so then you just add it in to your, you know. Dude.
So he needs to come up with an herbal concentrate.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. But anyway, so anybody starting an ice cream? Anybody have an ice cream business out there?
I bet Taproot could make a good syrup.
Oh, yes. That is so true.
I have to tell him.
Frida.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because it's amazing medicine. There's amazing medicine in there, you know? So whether you go kind of root beer or whether you just do that chai, cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, add in your acidophilus powder or a little bit of the liquid, and it just makes the yogurt a little thinner, so get a thicker yogurt, you know? And voila, you have this like full-on inoculated medicine food. Then I can add some cucumber and make a little raita with that yogurt, or I can make a salad dressing with that apple cider vinegar. And I also put probiotics in my essential fatty acids. So I'll bring home a bottle of flax oil, and then I'll put in like a whole rosemary sprig, and then I'll add some probiotic powder in there, or I'll open up some capsules if that's what I have around. And then I just let it sit for like a week. And then every time I go to use my oils on my food or to make a dressing or a sauce, I'm getting probiotics. And I'm also getting, you know, whatever medicine I threw in there. And again, you could add spices. You can make like hemp and coriander. It's a really good way to alter hemp because it's a little strong flavor. So I don't like to just throw it on things. But you put the coriander in there and it just changes everything. It's so yummy. Sumac and coriander would be the way to go. And I've also done it with dill too, and it makes it way more green and fresh. So why are we not adding more medicine to our medicines? There's so much opportunity for the things that are right in your kitchen. I think I actually, early on in pandemic, didn't I do a webinar on this? What's in your kitchen? Because everyone was stuck at home.
Yeah, time to revisit that.
And I don't know if I added this in, so now you got this too. But I took people through my kitchen. Geez, that was so long ago. I'm like, I can't even, I was in a gloss over. Early pandemic? Were we in a gloss over?
Yeah,
It was like,
weird
what? What?
Yeah.
But I was still like, okay, I guess I better go out in the ethers. It's the only way I can get to everybody. So I threw myself out there. Thank you for helping.
Thank you for being
So
there.
I'm talking about acidophilus and how much leadership, and also the bifidus. And those are both, you're going to find them in almost every single formula that's out there, because everyone knows that those are like the smartest, you know, kind of, you know, settlers that really have the bandwidth and the stability to build a colony. And then you want to play with every kind you can think of. Same with omega oils. You know, you don't want to just always be doing hemp. You might be doing it medicinally for nerves, or pumpkin for inflammation, or olive oil because oil's not easy to break down, but you still need your healthy oils. So we do olive oil or flax. But really, I have all my oils inside my fridge. And then I'm just kind of like, what am I eating? Where did I go globally to cook this meal? Because I love to cook around the world, you know. Everywhere I travel, I take cooking classes. It just seems like the smartest thing to do with my time
Yeah.
is find a sweet little
fun.
chef that, you know, wants to teach me all their secrets. But I've got them all right in my fridge. So I've got my probiotics there, and what do I want to put in where? I've got my vinegars, I got my kraut, I got my oils, and then I have all my salts right out where I'm going to like put my plate of food to kind of like get silverware and da-da-da. And then I'm like, oh, here's my little pepper. Oh, here's my sumac, you know, a little bit of salt. Take it with you because it's always to taste. So you might want more. And if you want more salt, and if you're doing good salt, like with an ocean name, you know, Atlantic gray salt or Peruvian salt, you know, and I have those. But if you're doing those, you know, if you don't taste it anymore, you're meant to take in more electrolytes. So it's really about good salt and not indulging in bad salt, that type of thing. But electrolytes are part of the microbiome because they're the literal water flowing that is keeping, when your food breaks down to liquid, the electrolytes are what keep that liquid in motion. Like, think about it. Liquids need to be in motion. They either need gravity or, like, what keeps that wave coming in and going out and coming in and going out? There's motion behind it. There's fire behind it. And there's, you know, igniting. And think about it, electrolytes, electricity, igniting, sparking, you know, bringing light to things. And so you need your electrolytes for this. You're going to need your mucin lining for this. And then you're going to need your primary settlers to build a colony. And then you got to eat the community. You have to eat your community every day. You got to share meal with your community every day, which means a vinegar in one meal, a yogurt in another meal, kraut in another meal, a little bit of kefir in the afternoon with some coconut water. Make a coconut kefir. Great for afternoon kidney time of day, 2 to 5. And then you keep things nourished, you keep things hydrated. But I'm explaining hydration. I'm explaining just a couple details of microbiome. Like Mary Sheila and I go so far into microbiome. I even broke down like all your primary 12 essential pre and probiotics and then studied them last year on which one showed me they had more hot, cold, wet, or dry functions. Some are like revers, and others are like alkaline. Some are sedating, some are activating. That was really interesting to document that. And, you know, a whole class is broken down into that. We go through every single organ in the body and then all the remedies specific to cold, dry, hot, wet. So a whole book where you can like track your symptoms for the rest of your life, because we go through kidneys, we teach microbiome, we teach immunity and lymph. And we really go the distance in that class. The two of us just had we had so much documented in our careers to then be able to, in the last, you know, basically 5 years, we've been just infusing all of our information into this amazing edible Ayurveda program. Oh, by the way, we're live tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
An
Yeah.
apple a day.
For sure.
That's what we're doing tomorrow. And
Yeah.
it's a demo.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna. I am eagerly awaiting the demonstration of your liver enhancing
I'm excited.
apple sipper. I've got a bunch of apples in my house. So, but yeah, that's gonna be on the Edible Ayurveda Facebook group, which is free to join. And
Yeah.
I bet a lot of you guys are already there with us. So hop on over after this and make sure that you're gonna be here tomorrow morning, 9:30.
That's right.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So
That's
good, so
exciting.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love teaching with her. It's been really wonderful. So what else do I want to say, or do you have any questions that might lead me somewhere further?
I do have another question.
Okay.
I had missed this for a second, but Rose would love input about tools for TMJ related tendinitis and neck and shoulder self-care.
Okay. Oh, this is a great question.
Mhm.
Thanks, Rose. Let's see. So first off, let's talk about the TMJ. So Kavala Graha is the number one Ayurvedic remedy when it comes to TMJ, which is oil pulling. Putting sesame oil in your mouth and you swoosh it all through every quadrant and through your teeth. It's not really a gargle, it's more of a flushing through and cleaning everything. Sesame cleanses and it calms down the gums and it nourishes all the nerve endings in your tooth sockets. And by the way, it also gets lymphatic drainage. You have lymph nodes all along your chin, all the way up through your dental and into your teeth cavities. You have lymph nodes, immunity. So this oil pulling does it all, and it definitely keeps everything nourished enough, especially if you do it every single night before bed. It's just gonna start dropping it out. But I have another really amazing trick, which is just 4 drops of Palmarosa essential oil. I have it. I don't think it's very spendy either. It's a very reasonable, very effective, gentle plant. Even children can use it in small dose. And Palmarosa looks just like lemongrass when it's growing. I was very surprised by that, but it does have like a floral lemony finish. You just take 4 drops and you just rub it on your jawline. And I think it's really good sometimes if you don't mind the taste, just rub it a little bit on the gums, but you're not taking it orally. You know, essential oils are transdermal, so they're much safer and they're fully effective just on your skin, and they're transdermal. They go right into your bloodstream. But Palmarosa is an amazing nerve regulator. Like I could tell you so many great stories. Oh, broken wrists, pain gone, you know, brain surgery, pain gone, gray tooth with children where the nerve is dead, back to white. I've seen that one so many times, it's ridiculous. Like somebody who couldn't use their hand, they said that they had severed all of their nerves from a horse hitting their shoulder and kind of ruining their arm. And we started doing the Palmarosa, completely got back. There was scar tissue and there was some physical therapy stuff, bodywork style, but that Palmarosa, I'm not kidding. And wow. It's a grass that grows in the plains, like all over, even in the desert. You know, it's drought resistant and it's all over India. I've seen it also in Thailand. Oh, what a great plant. So I would really do that. I would oil pull, put the Palmarosa, again, only 4 drops needed, go to bed. I know with kids that grind, I'll tell them just to go and take a little drop and just tap when they're already asleep. And you can just kind of almost watch them, just like unwind their teeth. Could be some other things going on, but if it's really just a nerve muscular workout pattern, Palmarosa is brilliant. So I think of that, and then there's the tinnitus part of this question, and then there's the neck part of this question. So the tinnitus part of this question reminds me of vetiver essential oil, and you just take, it's a resin, and you just take a little drop in your hand and you do a little swab smear into your ears. You're not going to drop it in your ears. You're going to just swab it all around your ear and a little bit down into your canal. And that vetiver is so brilliant for calming down the eardrum, grounding out the eardrum. Really a great one to consider. And you could do that every day, very long term. I've used that with some people with many things, ringing in the ear and hearing loss. It is paired with heliochrysum when we go into like actual like blown out eardrum hearing loss. I add heliochrysum. But yeah, I would really be thinking about that. And then the other thing, and the Palmarosa and the vetiver are beautiful together, by the way. If you did have both of those, the vetiver goes and smears in your ear, the Palmarosa goes on your jaw, but you could get a bottle of ashwaganda bala oil. It's an Ayurvedic medicated oil. I have it. And you could add 20 drops of vetiver and 40 drops of 4-ounce oil and 40 drops of palmarosa. So I'm giving you a recipe. 20 drops of vetiver, 40 drops of palmarosa. And that could go in just a sesame oil. I'm just giving you kind of the how cool to, you know, have a beautiful Ayurvedic oil to work with. And you're going to make a localized rub. Now you could use that as an all over abhyanga, because when there's things going on in the neck, usually it's really down in here in the psoas. And I do plan on very soon doing a pelvic floor webinar.
Great.
And I'm doing one for women and one for men, actually, because men are not getting the care of their pelvic floor, and it's not fair. Men have pelvic floors too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they don't even have any prostate care, you know? So I'm going to do both. It's going to be cool. But this is going to be your abhyanga. And it's, and, you know, in that other class, I'm going to talk about the psoas and kind of what could be really holding that's making all this pressure. But you put that oil on, get a gua sha on your hand, and you are going to start working it out. And if you don't have a gua sha, use a wood spoon, you know, and don't forget you have hands. So you could also pull and tenderize and open, and you could just really work all your muscles out, and you can get your neck to one side and you can work on it. I just think sometimes we need permission to do this stuff because we feel silly, or we immediately go to like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, well, the more you touch yourself, the more you will know what to do. And if you find pain, see if you can rub it out, because pain loves to change. It doesn't want to be there.
Right.
Sometimes it's associated to some old pain and it's a little harder to move. But if it won't go away in a couple days of rubbing it, then you have to kind of start thinking about, when did this start? And what is this? And what am I storing here? What pain is this? You know? So the nice thing about a gua sha or your hands is you're going to work on all this warrior lymph, which is about your upper immunity. You know, when we get sick, what talks? We get congested, we get swollen glands, this warrior lymph. So the gua sha, you can work out all of this, and then you can start getting onto the muscles of your neck. You can get into all the details in your shoulder. You can also, don't forget to get way up on that occiput, that bone you can push up against that's right up under there, right? And you just really want to investigate. And my hands I can investigate, but man, the edge of that gua sha, what that gua sha can find,
Yeah.
that maybe moved away from my hand, my skin to skin. And when I put that gua sha on there, that nice little piece of wood or carnelian, you know, you can see which one feels right for you. They're online. The labels are very informative on all our products. So if you're wondering which one you need, go to the website, go to the store, and like look at the labels, and they'll tell you, you know, which one's for what. But wood doesn't break. It's the forever gua sha.
Just gets
like
better.
Just like the stainless steel forever enema bucket that we have. You know, for $49 you have a forever enema and douche bucket, and we'll be talking about that in that pelvic floor class for sure. Douching.
Yeah.
Very empowering, very important to know. Yeah, so I really think of like massage and oil for that neck. Last thing I'll say for that one, that's really important for this time of year anyway, and if you're in smoke, I don't know if you are, but steam inhalations.
Yeah.
Steam inhalations are really amazing. I have steam tablets, you know, that you just throw in the water, little plop, plop, fizz, fizz. But they have all the medicine right in them, and they're just these little tablets, and you just put them right in the boiling water, put a towel over your head, you know, breathe, and you just open everything up. So imagine if you were all warm and dewy and sweated under a steam tent. Then you did Kavalagraha in your mouth, and you put your lovely little Pomarosa on, and you put your vetiver in your ears, and then you put your ashwagandha oil on your neck, and then you gua sha. How much you're going to get done in like a half hour's time.
Yeah.
You could do all of that in a half hour, easy. You know, it's really, how many half hours do we waste in a day? A lot.
Yeah, you can blow half hour
Like,
scrolling through Instagram.
You can, yeah, exactly. You know, and by the way, you could slap some oil on yourself, and you could gua sha while you're on Instagram. I'm a multitasker.
Yeah.
So you
why
could
not?
also think about that. Or like, I'll listen to an audio when I'm under my steam if I feel like I want to, like, you know, do that. But I do like silence. I do like just taking time for me, because I can stay busy, but what am I missing when I'm staying busy? You know, why do we need a sound always around us? You know, why do we need like this engagement constantly? We're avoiding ourselves, totally avoiding ourselves. So I do want to invite that you just like take a half hour, don't do anything else. But sometimes you got to multitask to get started. And then you learn like, maybe I'll turn off the music even and just be with me. Because even words in music, they take me away. So when do I want to be taken away? Then I got my audio on, or got my music, or whatever. And then there's other times where I have to kind of not go away. I have to decide to I have to decide to like hang with myself. And really get honest with myself. And we have to go into silence to be able to do that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about silence?
Oh gosh, it's my dream to have silence. I mean, you know, I've got 2 kids at home, and I'm working at home, and you know, there's the literal audio input, but then there's the visual input that disrupts silence as well. And I always say that it's my greatest wish is to be able to just sit and stare at a wall. And I forget, but I've pushed myself to go maybe sit out on my porch and not listen to a podcast.
That's right.
Just listen to the birds and look at the sky and just listen to the leaves rustling.
That's
even
right.
in my little apartment in the middle of Santa Rosa, you know, but I can get a little silence, and I absolutely adore it.
You know what I love that you're bringing up is that, especially this time of year, if you really do go outside and take in the cool oxygen that's there, like you can literally hear the leaves falling off the tree this time of year. And you don't always get that, you know, because they're intermittent, and you'd have to pick just that right moment when that one leaf. But this time of year, all the leaves are falling.
Yeah.
And you've got so much color too to look at, you know, in the changing of these trees and leaves. But you're right, just that moment to even listen, you know. And those are the times when I make better choices with what I choose to then go eat. Or I might even be all, oh my God, I'm hungry. But I didn't even think I was hungry.
Right.
I was too busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. I can hear that leaf. And like, why don't I do this more? And all of a sudden it's all, and I'm all, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
You let go of all of those other distractions.
That's right.
Or on the other hand, you let go of all of the anxieties and realize that really all you need to do is breathe.
That's right. And you know, you're going to have to figure out how to practice this. Otherwise, it's just a conversation. So it reminds me of like when I started saying, I need to walk every single morning. I need to walk every morning. And it was like this guilt thing I wasn't doing that I knew I wanted to do. And I even love it when I do it, you know, and I was struggling. And then I finally said, I'm going to create a habit. It was one of those first times when I was like, I got to turn this body image issue I have with having kapha, with having weight my whole life. I have to stop indulging in this horrible conversation I'm having with myself. And I have to be willing to say, what's the opposite? And I'm like, take a walk.
Yeah.
Take a walk, you know? I mean, Andrea runs, you know? And then she does marathons, you know? So she got it going on, you know? I'm more of a walker, and I do like yoga with a tree, with this tree, this old redwood with these beautiful branches. And I do tree yoga, which
Lovely.
sometimes I'm like, maybe I should be teaching that. We need outdoor things now. But try it. You can do all kinds of asanas and breathing exercises and mudras while you're wrapped up around a tree, or like using a branch to go into a specific pose. But that's
Maybe you'll
kind
share
of,
that with us.
it's really
Film it
amazing.
one day.
Oh my gosh, that's like, I'd have to really face my body image to do that. Sounds like we should do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a very clear call from the universe all of a sudden.
You know I'm always up for a challenge.
Yeah.
Anything to continue the getting real
Yeah.
and continuing the authenticity, because, you know, that's where it's at. That's like, oh, that's my gray right now. How authentic am I being? I'm like growing it all
Real
out.
deal. Do it.
Doesn't mean I'll do it forever, but I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
All silver.
Yeah.
I just want to see what it looks like. I've never seen it. I've always grown it and then said, forget it.
Oh.
And now I'm like, no, let's just wait. I can always change my mind. I like to change my mind. I believe in it. But yeah, this is a really, really special time of year. It is, though, getting cold, going back to that long question that was there. You know, there is a cold coming on, and I can feel it a little bit sooner, I feel like. I mean, we have hot, but there's these, like, weird cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh,
it feels like
it's
we're
about to come. I mean, we're
you
going to get
know?
in the 30s this week.
Oh, whoa. I
Yeah.
did not know
Yeah,
that.
the forecast, it's going to dip.
Okay, well, I can feel it. Like
Yeah.
there is a big hot day, cold night. And so we usually just have to follow suit, you know, wear less clothes during the day, put on more clothes, and get your shawl out
Right,
at night,
right.
and make sure you're just kind of meeting that balance, because that's really what this is all about. You know, like what you're experiencing needs the opposite. I sure hope I don't sound like a broken record. I hope I'm a lovely continued reminder.
It's a mantra, dear. It's a mantra.
I hope I'm a good reminder, because all I know is I have to keep reminding myself. And I've now been doing this for 30 years. Oh my gosh, Ayurveda at least, you know? And I still have to remind myself to go back to breathing, or that I stopped at breathing. You know, I created a breathing pattern that's not serving me because of how I'm feeling. And then, you know, food goes up and down, you know, my emotions. I just feel like a relatively stable person, and who's trying to do the most with that stability. Like, I'm really trying to be one of the humans that's like, if I'm going to be given stability, if I'm going to be able to get myself to this healthier place, because I was so unhealthy as a kid, I had to really work to get where I am. But if I can do it, like, what do I want to do with that? How do I want to share that? Like, I feel like it's our duty. If you do have any level of privilege, if you do have a level of stability, or if you have a level of health that is not really jeopardizing your needs, you know, or is not making it where you got to put yourself first. Like, the sicker you are, the more you have to put yourself first, and then that gets old because you start feeling selfish, you know, and then you have to kind of face that. But it has to be about you until you get better. But if you're doing pretty good, you know, if you got food on your table, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you feel like you're sleeping and getting up and you're okay, I just think it's important for all of us at this point to kind of start saying, which way do you want to participate in the community, in the colony? And it may be really different than what you were doing, you know. I feel a pandemic has definitely taken me to different places. And it might be no, I must continue. It might be I need to do this a little more efficiently, or I need to do this differently, you know. But I just think it's an important time for us to think about what's going to allow us to fall back and fall and let our leaves fall off. Like, what are you letting go of?
Right.
Can you just trust that? And then know that if there is something that's changing, there's something ahead, you know? And it probably means that there's deeper work. There's deeper work, or maybe it doesn't even have to be deeper. It might be different. Different work. There's something different to be done now. And our world has changed drastically in a very short amount of time. And what I love about this pandemic, if I'm going to put that word with it, I really love that this is the first time we're in a global experience. Like, everybody's in it together.
Right.
Like, we're in a global experience. What an opportunity. What an opportunity.
It's rare.
And then we have things that are being blown up into the ethers that need to be looked at. There's all these cans of worms that are being opened up for us to know what to do with the opportunity. And I just think that's such a powerful thing. I'm like, how are we going to pull this off? How are we going to back it up with the planet? How are we going to back up ourselves and our health instead of sitting in shame trying to achieve goals that aren't even real goals, perhaps? Like, how are we going to do this? And I'll tell you one thing, you do have to be nourished in your gut to even have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
We got to have the bacteria. We got to have healthy bacteria, because there's a whole lot of unhealthy bacteria out in the world. So I need my bacteria to be as healthy as possible, because there's plenty of unhealthy bacteria
Right.
everywhere we go.
Yeah, that healthy bacteria is how we know the truth.
Yes, exactly. And then that becomes our immunity,
Yeah.
you know? And immunity is if you really look up the word immunity, you're not just going to see the lymphatic system. If you see the word immunity, it's not just going to talk about the immune system. It's going to talk about literal, what is it to have immunity as a human? What is immunity? What is freedom?
Right.
It's going to talk about freedom. So if immunity and having immunity is having freedom, then our microbiome and the nourishment of our gut is really where our freedom lies. Because then your immune system is fine in the winter, or it's fine season to season, because there's hydration to flow, and there is fire to assimilate and absorb and convert things, transform things into energy. That's basically pitta, transforms things into energy, nutrients. And there's the gaseous exchange. There's enough container, hollow space, vata, which rules all your hollow organs. And gaseous exchange happens in those hollow spaces. And there's always got to be room for something to happen. Just like ether is space until something moves through it. That is vata. Ether, air, is vata. And it's looking at all your hollow organs, and you got to have a container, and you got to have space for something to happen. And then that enkindles our fire, pitta, and it focuses us on, like, that's a protein, I got to break it down because I need to get it over there in the muscles. And those are the true, like, you know, fundamental nutrients, and like how you're going to transform it so it's of use to you. And that pitta focus, that's its job. And then you've got the kapha waterworks, getting liquid from one place to another, juicing up all your cells, keeping you plump, you know, and alive and stable and grounded, like earth when you're next to a river and it's flowing so beautifully, and you're just like want to lay back on the rock and just be like, I don't need to go anywhere. And you finally just surrender yourself. But it usually takes the sound of water hitting earth, right? It takes the sound of water hitting earth. It's usually the biggest wake-up call. So if you haven't gone to the ocean and you live by one, and road trip is okay, by the way, in my world, and you know what I mean? Or if you have a stream that you could even listen to one little tiny drips of the stream, so it's like these tiny little detail sounds, or if you have anything that you can do that's got running water, or even a lake where you can feel the body of water around that stable earth that's containing it. Aren't these all things that sound very content related?
Mm-hmm.
That's kapha, nourish. Kapha is the word of nourish. It's about contentment, juicy, nourishment, you know. And this is all what our microbiome is about. They're a colony. So there's a whole bunch of chemicals going on there that are spark and shift, and they do it through liquid exchange. Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Yeah. Any other questions here?
No, I think it looks like we've had some really sweet comments. Folks, and Martha said that this was a meaningful, informative talk for her. Thank you so much, Martha. I'm really glad it worked well for you. Folks saying hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hi everyone. I love you all so much.
But I think that'll probably just wrap it up for the day.
Okay, well, this is good.
Yeah.
We will continue. Andrea and I will continue our Q&As
Yeah.
on Thursday mornings.
Yep. Send your questions. You know, you could send one that you think of later today, and we'll address it the next time it comes around. So send a message here on Facebook or on Instagram, or email info@DeAnnaCenter.com. And come visit our website and pick up a couple of treats.
Yeah, we've had some fun with it. And there's a lot of changes to come, by the way. So just be kind of checking out what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There are changes coming, and we have like a whole new store that is just like so artistically beautiful. Probably November,
Yeah.
you know, and all the work Andrea's been doing, and my body mapping master class, which has been completely revised and developed for online.
So excited.
Jana Kruder is so helping me out with that one, with that one.
Yeah, she's great.
But so I've that'll be starting January. In fact, doesn't it start January? We decided on a January. I think it might be the
Something like
7th. It's like right in early January,
Yes.
so you can like make it a New Year's
Right away.
resolution course. You know, take you through your hibernation in the winter. But yeah, whatever you want to do with me, feel free to find me.
Yeah.
I'm doing my remote consults, and I'll think about those tongues and faces, and can I handle that in my client load? But I think I could.
We got a couple of people really excited.
Oh,
About the
really?
idea. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we'll make it happen. Okay.
Alrighty.
Adiom. Adiom.